Wild horses wouldn't drag me into the water, but that's what this unbelievable coastline is all about, a freedom of choice to indulge your passion. Well, as I get back on the road, the sun is shining on me aboard my lavish and lurid piece of American iron, which I have to say I'm falling madly in love with as I head down towards Santa Cruz. Having done the serious historical sightseeing, I feel free to lap up this scenery and free to be myself. What a wonderful feeling that is. It may be November, but who would ever think it? The evening's drawing in, but Santa Cruz is only a few miles down the road. Well, we've made it to Santa Cruz. Actually, I've just got to say, when you're riding, I mean, it's November, as we've said, and it can get really cold. But it's really funny, each sort of bay you go into, or each valley you go into, is sort of like a warm blanket. And then when you rise up over the hills on the road, it gets really cold. What a fantastic time. You have to do it. So after a quick wash and brush up, it's time to explore the nightlife of this quaint little town. And I've been told of a jumping little joint just down on the harbour. Well, the first day's ride has been absolutely amazing. We've made it to Santa Cruz for the evening. And the place to be in Santa Cruz is here at the Crow's Nest. The Crow's Nest is famous in these parts for good food and a great welcome, and my first impressions are exactly that, but my exuberance is quelled slightly by the PR of the restaurant insisting that I wax lyrical about the huge range of food available. Do you know what? I really hate doing these kind of things. It's all a setup, and at the end of the day, this place is okay. It does quite nice food. It's got a good ambience, there's some quite nice, good-looking girls around. But we got here a bit late, so it's dark, so I can't really see anything. Consequently, there's no sea views to be had or ogling of lavish yachts, so time to retire to my digs and eagerly await what Santa Cruz has to offer in the morning. As I'm awoken by the sunrise over Santa Cruz, I start to become aware of my rather restless night spent here in this time warp hotel owned by Mr. and Mrs. Darling, with everything, including its plumbing, firmly ensconced in the 1900s. I thought I'd just show you where we stayed last night. This is the Darling house, owned by a couple of Darlings. It's all been restored to how it was in 1910. And this is the best room they've got with incredible views, but the others don't actually have ensuite bathrooms, and the plumbing is kind of 1910, and I didn't really have any hot water, which tiddled me off a bit. So much so, without an ensuite bathroom, I tiddled in the sink. Feeling a little bit guilty of my nocturnal antics, it's time to head off into town and soak up the early morning atmosphere. It's really weird when you come into a town at night there you've never been before, and you really don't know where you are or what's going on here. And then it's 8 o'clock in the morning, you come out here and it is absolutely divine. In the warmth of the morning sun, Santa Cruz delights. People are already chilling out on the beach, and the whole place is dwarfed by the oldest amusement park on the west coast. It's a town that immediately purveys its laid-back yet alternative lifestyle, and like many retreats along this coast, it has its very own place in history. Well, this area of Santa Cruz doesn't look much just by the old amusement park, but actually it was the birthplace of surfing on the mainland of America. And that was due to these 3 Hawaiian princes who turned up here and were sent to school here in the 1890s. And they were so homesick that they made a couple of primitive boards and went out and surfed just at the mouth of the estuary here. And it's right here where surfing actually began on the mainland of America. You know, I've just found a little passage here in my little guidebook about what Santa Cruz is all about. As always, we can't spend much time here, so this really sums it up perhaps. And it says here, ideally situated at the north end of Monterey Bay, Santa Cruz has marched on to its own beat since long before the Beat generation. In the 1970s, a local newspaper published a do-it-yourself artificial insemination guide for the large local lesbian community. It's still cool to be a hippie here, even if you scratch some and find a slumming Silicon Valley millionaire underneath. And that really encapsulates still to this day what Santa Cruz is all about.
weeknights on Travel Channel are all about gravity-defying rides. You'll be going crazy for the G-Force and Insane Coaster Wars, as well as getting wet and wild in extreme water parks. Extreme water parks and Insane Coaster Wars, weeknights on Travel Channel.